This is Tuesday, September the 9th, 2014, and I am at the home of Rosa McKinney on North 7th Street, and this is to add to the oral history project of the Marshall Public Library. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rosa, and you might just kind of start out with your background, where you're born and your family.
I was born on a farm in Clark County, August the 21st, 1922, and the hottest summer in the year, and I was born at home. My mom said she thought she'd never get here. They gave her whiskey because they didn't go to hospitals. They stayed in the home and had a baby. And I weighed over 10 pounds, which was a big baby for that day and age. Well, maybe not, I don't know. I had 4 brothers and 1 sister. 2 brothers died at infancy. Our neighborhood was very friendly. We had ice cream suppers. We had playground. We kids played together, walked to school a mile and a quarter every day. Rain or snow or shine or what have you.
What school was that, Rosa?
West Liberty grade school. 1 teacher for 8 grades. And she had to keep the fire going in the wintertime and help the kids put their boots on and get their coat, the little ones. She had to be a nursemaid all day.
And janitor, too.
And a janitor. Bring in water in the in a water bucket, and we all drank out of the same cup in the back of the school. But we all grew up to be pretty old, so I guess it didn't hurt us.
People today just have no concept of that standard. Do they think,
No.
my gosh, a cup or even a public fountain you shouldn't use?
Yes, yes. And in the spring, we kind of ate according to seasons. Dad would go, like when the squirrels were young in the spring, he'd have squirrel. We'd go fishing. They cut down honey trees. Honey where the hives would collect. They'd collect honey. We ate well because we butchered and we had garden produce. But it was during the Depression, and lots of people lost their farms. A lot of people jumped out windows, or they couldn't live that kind of a life anymore. We wore hand-me-down clothes. Mom made clothes from feed sacks. At that time, feed sacks were very popular. They put the feed in printed sacks, and the women made aprons and pillowcases and kids' clothes and everything like that.
My dad owned a grain elevator, and he had those sacks that he had his own formula that he made in them. And Mother made all kinds of things, even including kitchen curtains.
Yeah. I even wore underpants made out of them.
I wore shirts made out of it.
We had a little dog in 1927. Lindenberg flew over, and of course that was a big news back then. So our dog was always called Old Lindy. He lived to be a ripe old dog.
Did you have some chores at home?
Oh, heavens, yes. I had to go gather the eggs. And I could never milk a cow. My sister could milk a cow. I could not get that milk to come down. And she always said I did it on purpose, but I didn't. I tried. I just couldn't get them to let go. I think the cow knew me.
Did she ever kick you?
No. Nope. I wasn't there long enough to do that, I would say. But, and in the summertime we had what they called a truck patch. Big, other than the garden. We had the kitchen garden, but then we had a big truck patch. And, of course, we had to hoe the weeds and pull weeds and pull the produce, and we would save potatoes and then cut the eye out of the potato and plant it in the truck patch. Dad grew peanuts one year. That was quite a thrill.
Yeah.
He also grew his own tobacco. and cured it in the barn where he cured hams.
Did you ever try any of that?
No, actually we didn't. I'm surprised we didn't because we tried everything else. Especially green apples when they came on. We'd always eat a bunch of them and then get sick. I did one day try to help my mom. I thought she was down there in that truck patch, and I had seen her wring the head off of a chicken. So I was going to fry the chicken for her and have the meal ready. So I got that old chicken going. I twisted and twisted, and I'd let it go, and it'd go, I'd twist some more, and it'd go. Finally went in and got a hatchet and a board, and I cut its head off. That was the last of my chicken frying. It didn't.
Poor chicken.
Oh, God, I was through with that. But it was fun to, like, go fishing, catch the fish for the meal. And Dad was never one to eat possum. A lot of people did. We did not. He just wouldn't do it. But he ate frog legs, which I always could never stand.
You don't order them in the restaurant even today, then?
No.
What about your playtime, or even at school or at home? Did you make up some of your own games?
I can't remember what we did play. I remember a handy over because a kid thought it would be smart to throw a rock over, and it hit me in the head, and blood just gushed. Well, they took me home. Of course, back then you didn't go to the doctor, you treated it. So Mom treated it. Well, the next morning it was all swollen. So they did take me to Westfield to the doctor. And he said couldn't do a thing about it. It was too swollen. He couldn't stitch it. So I still have a scar on the top of my head where the kid threw that rock. But then other games, I can't remember what we did play. We played ball a lot. Had to go to the outhouse, of course. And if I remember right, there was just one. We didn't have his and hers. It was one for all of us.
So with your family life, were you coming into town regularly for doing some trading or buying groceries? Or
We went into Clarksville, which was about, I think, 3-4 miles, for little things. Well, we never bought bread because my mom always made bread. But once in a while we'd go to Clarksville. But for big shopping, we'd go to Marshall. But we lived 7 miles south of Kansas, 7 miles north of Martinsville, 7 miles east of Westfield, and I think 14 miles west of Marshall.
so would you say then that was in the middle of nowhere?
Yes. But we had our choice. Oh, and we had Cleon. That was another little tiny mom and pop store. Had just little things you needed. Wolverine salve and that kind of stuff.
As a youngster, did you have some hobbies? And any of those hobbies you had then, you still participate in today?
The only thing I ever did that anybody said anything about, one part of our farm was a clay. And in the spring, when you could work that clay and make furniture and little houses, and I did that a lot. And then I'd set it out and it would dry. But that's the only thing I can remember that other than having to do our chores.
How about some artwork?
I didn't do any artwork at all. And anything to do with hair, I had no part of it.
But that must have changed somewhere along the way, didn't it?
My mom took me, when I graduated from grade school, to Terre Haute and got a permanent with those big old heat crokinole permanent. And I sat there, I thought my head was going to break off. And then when I got out, here was these kinky, frizzy, little wound-up curls that I absolutely hated. So that summer, I went to my aunt's and I asked her if she'd cut it off, and she did. She cut it like she cuts the boys' hair, because she was a country barber. Well, when I went home, things wasn't very pleasant when Mom seen my hair. And I think she paid 89 cents for that permanent. Wow. Yeah. She was very unhappy, but then as time went on, I began to get over having straight hair. Wound up making that my profession.
That's what I thought. I remember as a youngster, my mother would go into the Archer House, and Odelia Miller had a beauty shop in there. And she had one of those, what I thought horrible looking, looked like a torture machine with the wires that,
Coconut.
and I didn't know the name of it, which you just said. And did you use that kind of a machine also?
When I first started beauty school, we had one, and of course to pass the state board we had to use it. And back then cold waves were just beginning to be introduced, and of course they said they would cause cancer if they continued to use them. Well, that didn't prove to be true, but
Everything does.
everything does, yeah. But then it wasn't long after that till they went out completely and everybody was waving.
Now, you use the phrase cold wave, and probably young people have never even heard of that. What is a cold wave?
Chemicals, used with chemicals rather than heat. See, Crokinole got hot, and we had a pointer, and if it got hot, then you pointed with this pointer, and we raised it up and had a blower, and we'd blow under there. And sometimes we didn't get there in time, and the burn like that was under the skin. It was like a steam burn under the skin, not on top. Awful, awful hard to heal. And I think we called blue something that we would give the customers. They never thought of suing us if they got a burn.
Quite different than today.
Oh my, yes. Oh my, yes. Yeah, I had one lady, she didn't like the way her color turned out. So she wondered about suing me. And she said, maybe if she sued me, I could sue the company, and that way maybe both of us would make some money. She was no longer a customer.
Where was your child?
Well, I went to school in Paris. And that's something else. If somebody would have told me when I went to school that I would someday own that school, I thought they were off the rocker. But anyway, I went to work at Casey for an old lady who had been a beautician for a long time. And she let me work about 3 days, and she called me in the back room one day, and she said, Rosa, have you been to beauty school, or where in the hell have you been? She said, you don't know anything. And she taught me completely over of everything I had been taught. Now, if she hadn't have, I may not have been as successful as I turned out to be. But boy, she rode me hard for that 2 years I worked for her.
Would you say that was just good old practical experience?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. She taught me how to get along with customers, how to treat customers, and not only that, but the business end, how to take care of a customer. If you had one customer for a whole year, it was worth like $500, where if you had one customer walk in and you pushed your regular customer away, you lost that, maybe, you know. She taught me things like that. So anyway, then I went to Kansas and bought a shop of my own. And then I moved to Marshall and bought a shop where Odelia Marie used to be.
Okay.
I put an ad in the paper where the previous Odelia Marie Miller beauty shop, and she called me up and just redeemed me out good because I used her name without her permission. I never even thought Schaefer didn't teach me that. But anyway, then after 15 years here, I went to Paris and bought the beauty school.
Who owned the Archer House at the time? Of course, I think it was called the National Dixie Hotel then.
Mr. McMorris,
I was wondering who owned that.
Charlie McMorris, and Martha.
And he was operating it as a hotel?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't fancy. It was kind of old and antique. But like he told his customers, the water's hot and the sheets are clean.
Could be that. Did they serve meals there at that time?
No.
Okay.
No.
Sure. As I recall, Odelia's shop, you came in from like Michigan
On the side.
Avenue on the side. It was either the first or second door from the corner. I can't recall which.
It was the first door.
First door. Okay.
Yeah, because, well, now when I was there, I forgot that lady's name. She lived in the back there. He did rent some, like apartments. Most of it was just rooms. But then when Dr. Manwaring left, I went around and rented the front room then that faced Archer.
Okay. He was the optometrist.
Dr. Manwaring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got my first glasses from him.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Tom McClure rented the part of the lobby for his real estate business.
Okay.
Faith Somerville, that's that woman's name.
Oh, yeah.
Lived in the back there.
Okay. Because her husband used to be the district
Engineer.
engineer in Paris for the highway department, and my aunt worked there, and someone else took turns driving and would drive from here up to Paris. And I remember one time riding up with the Somervilles.
Yeah.
And my aunt.
And you know, the state voted that there would be pensions for retirees and widows. He got killed the day before that went into effect.
I know she lived.
Is that still on?
Well, sure.
Huh?
Well, sure.
No, I'm not going to say anymore.
Well, after you say you bought the business in Paris then? And is that by any chance still in operation, or has it changed
Nope.
ownerships?
No, the man that bought it for me said that he didn't know how in the world I ever ran that place. He said it would take 2 men and a boy to keep it going. Well, I spent lots and lots of hours up there because after the day was over, then I had to fill in all these things the state wanted because you're really working for the state. So then I'd stay and have to do that, and then I'd make sure all the sterilizers were clean and so on and so forth, because we had inspectors come in every so often.
So were you living in Paris at the time you had that business, or were you living in Marshall?
Marshall.
Okay.
I was driving back and forth. But then I finally put an apartment up there after I got a divorce from Bill. I put an apartment upstairs and then I stayed up there. Then I met Bob. So then I moved back to Marshall.
Glad to have you. So with your move being away in Paris for a little while, and then moving back, did you find a lot of changes had taken place in Marshall, or was it pretty much as you remembered it?
It hasn't changed in 100 years. Well, less businesses, a whole lot less businesses. Because I remember when drug stores and grocery stores and clothing stores, shoe store, two hardware stores, hotels, 2 hotels, movie theater, the liquor store, 2 newspapers,
Furniture store?
undertakers. We had just about everything you'd want. Car dealers, filling stations, taverns. I think there were 7 taverns at one time, wasn't there? I think.
I think that's right.
found out I'm allergic to candles,
Really?
and I'm having a yard sale next week, and I carried those candles out there, and I must have breathed enough of it that my eyes are just horrible.
And looking back to your career of beauty shop owner and operator, and the way those operate today, do you see a lot of differences? I know you use scissors to cut hair, but in that, like the cold wave and all of those things and the way permanents operate, do you think you'd like to go back in business?
Not since the third set started telling people how to wear their hair. It's awful. The women on Little House on the Prairie has better looking hairdos than some of the girls on TV with it hanging out and sticking out. And I'm just tickled to death that I'm not doing hair now. And not only that, but men started coming in beauty shops. And I don't like that either.
I saw some pictures in the 70s and I guess 80s, and the women's hair stood out about a foot from their head. I mean, it was a big, well, even some of the men too, and there was the Afro cut came in, and my land, they were a pile of hair.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you get around that?
No, I got around that. That was, well, now, we did do the updos. We would take a ruler and hold it so that it would come up 12 inches above the head. Back comb, back comb, back comb. And then lacquer. And the lacquer, you had to use alcohol sometimes to cut the lacquer out of the hair when they came back. But the hairdo stayed for 2 weeks. They didn't have to go back.
Unless you got caught in a windstorm.
It wouldn't bother them.
Is there a person or an individual here, Marshall or somewhere else, that you really feel has made an influence or a big influence on your life?
Schaefer, the lady that taught me. She did. I had some interesting friends like Lonnie Handy and forgot her name now. Cecil. Anyway, lived down south by Auburn or West Union. He was with an oil company. I can't think of her name. But she was a very interesting lady. I just loved to talk to her. Well, Lonnie was too. She always wanted me to come out there, and she could almost name every star in the sky.
Really? I know some people referred to her as being a little eccentric. Was that your take on her too, or? And I don't mean that negatively, but.
Well, she's different.
Yeah.
She was different, but a nice different. I thought.
Because obviously everyone associates her with the From Here to Eternity and the writers' colony. Was that in operation at the time?
If it wasn't for her, there would never have been a From Here to Eternity or any other book, and there's never been any since then. I mean, the people that she had never went on to do any more other than the books they wrote while they were here.
And there's obviously several books did come out of the Handy Colony, but I think most of them were just simply one issue, and that was it.
After Lundy was gone.
More national events or something historically that happened, kind of, you feel either as an influence or affected your life?
Really, not too much, I guess. World War II. I graduated from beauty school that year, and we were all elated to think it was finally over. But it really wasn't that much different. I mean, my life didn't change any.
I know you remember the air raids and the blackouts. As a youngster, I found those very, I guess, disturbing and concerning of what's going to happen.
Well, my little boy was born in 1941, December the 1st of 1941. And and the nurses all come running into my room. Back then, everybody smoked. You know, there was nothing to, everybody had a cigarette. So they'd all run in there with their cigarettes, and they took the radio out of an old man's room, said, oh, well, he can't hear, he won't know what's going on. So they brought his radio into my room. There were 7 girls in there and 7 cigarette butts in that ashtray. And I said, well, if the doctor walked in, they said, just tell him it's yours. I said, sure, all 7 of them. But anyway, they were all just up in the air. They were all going to be drafted. The doctors were all going to be drafted. We was going to have to put blackout curtains over the hospital windows. And, oh, I never heard such stories. And here I was, 10 days, you couldn't get out of bed. If you had a baby, you stayed in bed 10 days. So I just had to believe what they were telling me, what I couldn't hear on that radio, because every time the elevator went up, the radio went out. Oh, what a time.
Well, I think a lot of people compare something like that to the 9/11, which we're approaching the anniversary of that here in a few days. And I think that really unglued an awful lot of people also.
But you know, we were kept in bed for 10 days. We were waited on like we were royalty. And my girlfriend, who was in the room with me, had a baby the following year, a little over a year. I went to visit her. They kept her 3 days and kicked her out. She didn't get any of that pamper.
What would you say the most modern conveniences have maybe helped you along? Or that you say, Paul, I'm sure glad we got them today?
Oh, I can't. I mean, things have been going so fast here lately that I can't, like I said, a 6-year-old showing me how to use an iPad. I just can't grasp all of it. But now you did say something about an event in my life, was when I lost my little boy from leukemia when he was 10. That was...
Real traumatic.
Yeah. Still have trouble with that.
Well, I think today we have so many modern conveniences, the automatic furnace and the dishwasher and the vacuum cleaner and all those things that younger people today just have no concept that
I know
they're not that old.
my mom had a kettle out in the yard, and she'd boil the clothes in that water. Then we had to scrub the porch with the water after it was used.
And the crank probably ringer.
I remember when she got one that had a motor on it that went back and forth. So that was wonderful. Well, when electricity went through the country, because we didn't have electricity for a long time in Clark County, in Dawson County.
Did she have a washer finally that had a gasoline motor?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember that. I remember my uncle and aunt in the country had a gas refrigerator, and I just never could figure out how a flame that was from gas could keep things cool. Well, if you were talking to someone from another country, and they had asked you to describe where you live, what's it like, what would you say about Marshall and this part of the country?
Boy, that's a hard one to say. Well, when I was in Alaska, there was a man asked me about this part of the country, about schools. And we have some marvelous schools around here, St. Mary's Woods and Rose Common, and we do have some really good schools in this part of the country. It's just a nice place to live. From what at least I wouldn't get my head cut off like that poor man that was in the news last week.
Rosa, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and you've had some interesting things and some things I didn't know, and probably a lot of other people didn't either. But I think people along the time are going to enjoy reading this.
You mean we're done?
Unless you can expound or add to anything that you would like.
No, I could
The time
talk.
is yours.
I could talk all day, but you don't want to hear it. I'm going to.
Well, I had asked you about having hobbies and all when you were young, and I'll bet you had a pet then because there's one running around here now.
Old Lindy. We had old Lindy. Well, we got him in 27, and I don't know how old that dog was when he died. But then, yeah, we had different animals all along the way, but he was our main, because I remember we used to pull taffy, and then we'd feed some to the poor old dog.
Laugh when he got it fastened in his teeth.
And then when we butcher, we'd give him cracklings, and that would. And of course, we always butchered.
Well, these are some of the fun times that a lot of us old-timers do remember, and we really appreciate you sharing this with us. And one of these days, it will be in print so that other people can check it out of the library or look at it there. And we really appreciate your time and you sharing that with us.
Okay, I'm glad to do it.
Thank you. Well,
Now, can you turn it off?
oh yeah, I did turn it off now.
We'll have to see if you got it.
Well, it says there's 34 minutes left out of an hour.
Oh, we don't need to go another 30 minutes.
No. I just said, so it obviously recorded on there, there would be 59 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly how to go back on this I don't want to screw anything
No.
up.
No, I don't know what we left off.
There's that form that we're supposed to take back to the library. That's just,
This one or both of them?
no.
All three of them?
No.
Well, we've got three of them here.
Yeah, one of them was just a cover letter, and that's the thing.
You know what it is.
Yeah, this,
I don't know why I'm dripping like I am. That's them darn candles. I threw every candle in the house out.
is it a particular fragrance that bothers you?
I don't know. I love to burn candles, and I've been burning them. And water would just run. So the doctor told me to use 2 tablespoons of flaxseed a day. Another doctor told me to take some kind of a pill. Another doctor told me to put these drops for dry eyes. And one day I thought, maybe it's those candles. And I threw them all out, and I've not had it since.
And here you've been taking all this goodness.
Yeah. And all it was an allergy to the dang candles. Especially those Yankee candles. They are awful.
Are they the more potent ones?
Yeah, they've got an odor that's wet. Did you know Aiden Baber?
Paris.
I take the Paris Beacon now, and I know that there's a guy by the name of Parrish, and he was quoting things that Aiden Baber had wrote in a book.
That name sounds so darn familiar, but I didn't know him.
He wrote, he and Basil Moore was old buddies, and he wrote Abe Lincoln Ball and Chain, and Nancy Haynes, and then Abe and Nancy in Indiana. He wrote several books.
Now, you mentioned Parrish. There's a Joe Parrish and Kathleen.
Yeah, this one was a different Parrish. And he's sort of a historian. And he had mentioned that Aiden did have a book that didn't get finished when he died. And his daughter was trying to finish it up, or get it finished. And he had quoted a lot of things in the prairie state, what it was like when it was a prairie state.
That would be interesting. I'm looking forward to that program that's going to be at the library on our early history.
I called up there, so I hope we get to see.
I think we've got our name on the...
That last one, wasn't that she wasn't expecting all, well, I guess.
Oh my gosh, did she have a room full?
She said some of them had to come on the floor.
Yeah.
Apparently all people didn't call. Because they say that's why you should call, so they'll know how many chairs to put up.
Exactly, but I guess... And you know, RSVP, people don't even seem like paying attention to that anymore.
Oh, no.
I just can't, you know...
The same way with writing thank you notes. They don't do that anymore.
No. But now then, they even take writing out of the school.
Uh-huh. And homework.
That just bugs
Did you see where homework's? They're going to do away with homework.
Yes.
I don't know if, but they send me all this stuff. And this guy that's running for governor, he must be a dandy. 'Cause boy, do they hate him.
Is that Ronner?
Uh-huh.
I see his signs around an awful lot, but
You should read what the people, the state workers have to say about him.
and it's not good, I guess.
See, look.
Can't trust. Because he's been pushing that he's wanting to get term limits and several things for the straightening out the
Oh, he's going to
Springfield.
do away with you need the right to work state. Well, I guess Wisconsin did that.
No,
And they're in a mess. And it said in here that the governor, or the people from Wisconsin has come down to their lobby to tell them, don't let that happen to your state.
who publishes this?
The union,
Okay. On the move.
uh-huh.
Well, I don't know. It seems to me like politics.
Illinois Council 31, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees.
Everything's in such a mess everywhere. I mean, Springfield, Washington, Marshall. Did you see
Well-
the headlines of the paper today?
No, I don't take it anymore.
Warren Lefevre has sued the city.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Isn't that a crock?
Just
Well, they shouldn't pick on the
he deserves picking on.
There's this one he was he wanted to be an engineer.
When was this written, do you recall? You know what year this was written or published? Copyright.
70, I think.
67.
Huh?
67.
67. And this one, I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, this is unusual. That's been it's copied from just basically a typewriter written page as opposed to printed. Huh. Don't be better.
Copyright in 70. This is interesting. Now, if you had you've got grandchildren, read them some of the things that kids had to do then.
Oh.
One place in here, she told about making candles. She said she carved out a turnip, poured the wax in there, and then set the hair from a buffalo to make the wick.
Oh my. It is a different world, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I'm not so sure it's better.
It's not.
I mean, there's a lot of things I wouldn't care to go back to.
You know,
But,
like when I was a kid, our neighbors, after one of those kids, they'd be there to help us.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can't trust the neighbor. Maybe will molest the child or
You
something.
never know.
And yeah, you just can't trust anybody. Somebody
I heard that a lady was at a stop sign in Terre Haute, and someone hijacked the car, stop sign, jumped in the car with the gun, forced her out of it, and took the car.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the same way when someone comes to your door. You're almost afraid to open it. Well, I've got my door so that I keep the screen locked.
and you got the side window.
Yeah, and then I've got the screen open enough that I can talk without, because I did have one salesman just yank the door out of my hand and walked in.
about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a salesman came to the door. I was back in the salesman, I think, or something. But anyway, this is what I got. And he did not know there was a dog there. The owner didn't open the door very fast. But lucky that out of the whoop, whoop, and of course the big room and all. That guy, I think he hit the walk once before he got out to the main street. I'm afraid of dogs. So I said that was a good way to get rid of him.
This one is not much of a barker.
It's fine. Lucky didn't really bark either, except when someone came to the door.
Now when you came to the door, you just stand there wagging your tail.
Well, you're a good pet. Well, thanks again so much, Rosa. I'm glad you gave me a call.
Well, I am too. I'm glad I got it done because I'm going to start that yard sale next week. That's going to be a...
Ellen was going to have one sometime, but I don't think it's going to be real soon. Oh, I know. People don't realize.
And I tried to get some of my family to help me. That's a big
Do you
joke.
price everything?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, no.
Some things, everything's 50 cents in this otherwise price, and there are a few things, like my Golden Golf Club, I'm not going to let it go for 50 cents. I don't know what kind of a price to put on it. But
Eleanor pretty much did that too, because a price tag on everything. My gosh, you spend days trying to get ready for it.
But I did find out that a little boy that they had the benefit for,
Yeah.
real true garage sale goers will not go if they don't have a price on it. They'll just walk away.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, you can see the psychology behind
Yeah.
it. You know?
But you know, a lot of those too, they've got a shop. Or they've got a resale business. And they pick them up and then
Yeah.
resell it to them. I think a lot of them do. Well, thanks again, Rosa. Good to have you as a neighbor.
Okay,
I'm glad you're back in Marshall.
all right.
Bye, Cinder. Hey, well,
Hey, sweetie, how's it going?
real good. I can't get this thing to turn off. Well, it's still on.
How are you supposed to turn it off?
Well, putting it on hold has turned it off before.
Call Nancy.
Well, I thought I just run down there.
All right. Run down there then.
And then there's one of these things is missing. Bye-bye. script. Hi there, Ann. I need to see Nancy. Is she in? What? Oh. Well, I have a problem with the recorder. Does anyone here know anything about it? It won't turn off. On that side. Thank you. I was told you might be able to solve the problem. I just finished an interview and I can't get anything to work.
Try. Yeah.
Usually it's button on the left.
On the left,
If you put it up, that hole turns off.
Turns it off.
I thought there must be a secret somewhere.
Well, I don't know. Stop's not even doing anything. I will send Nancy a text message.
You know, is she home? Or
She might be, yeah.
next door, but
Yeah,
you know the battery's going to run down.
right.
And then I wanted to let her know too. There were two of these, but there's only one in the box.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if
Okay.
the last time kept one. But that puzzled me.
Yes. No, I don't know.
I thought you had that one.
Sometimes, not this one. No, I really don't know.
Oh, I'm usually not totally ignorant about things, so I thought it was the manual, but well, put that down and then put a stop.